The Amiga needs no introduction from me, but what I will say is we are back with the Amiga content that you have all been asking for. That's right, we are back with more Amiga content to add to the plethora of Amiga content we've already got on here. Specifically, it all started with me around the Amiga 500 Mini. That's what triggered this awesome playlist that we do on the Amiga. But in today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at 7 upcoming games in 2023 to sink your gorgeous Nashers into. I think you'll really take some value on this, and with the first game I'm going to show you, I reached out to the developer, shout out to Rick, and there's already an interview with more information about this game on my website at juicygamereviews.com, so I'll link that in the description if you want to read up after you've watched this episode. So here are the 7 new games that are coming up for the Amiga. We are kicking it off with Roguecraft, a game from Badger Punch Games with gorgeous, beautiful pixel art by Henning Ludvigsen. This game really caught my eye for obvious reasons. It's the isometric, top-down, blah blah. You've all heard me ramble on about my passion for those kinds of games. And I reached out to Rick and we did an interview on my website, and I asked Rick, lots of questions, but in particular I wanted to know what kind of game is Roguecraft and what can you expect? And what Rick said was this: Roguecraft is a turn-based roguelike game where the focus is simple and fun gameplay. A roguelike is often a dungeon crawler game where the aim is to get as far as you can in the dungeon. If you are lucky, you might get to the end where a boss monster and treasures await. You will only get one life, but since the levels are randomly generated, every play of the game has a unique experience. I think Roguecraft looks tremendous. The little details, the little health bar in the corner, the little tiny inventory management icons at the bottom with the potions and such like. I am rapidly falling in love with this game. And I also asked Rick, when is this liable at being released? Now, the team are aiming for an October 2023 release. So in the meantime, you're going to have to keep your eye on Rick's Twitter, which I will link in the description. Everything else you need to know will be directly through Rick's Twitter, the link to their website, and you can even buy a physical copy of this from the guys over at Bitmap Soft. I will be definitely doing so myself because the look of this reminds me of kind of Diablo, if you would, very early Diablo. I think there's nothing I don't like about it. If you take a look at the screen as well, check out the borders. It's not just that harsh black around the levels. They've got the kind of feathering in from all the corners of the, the different graphics and textures there, just making that feel a little bit more insular. It looks great. It sounds great. And thank you to Rick for sending me this footage exclusively. Let's let the rest of this one play out before we go on to the second game. Now, some of you will be familiar with Death Rally, and that's because it's actually a PC game created by Remedy. Remedy, of course, incredibly famous for making small games such as Alan Wake or, Max Payne. Anyway, this has now come to the Amiga by Zilly. I'm going to leave a link in the description to check out the Amiga threadboard for additional information on requirements and what Amiga you can play this on, etc. Now, compared to the PC version, there are some limitations on the Amiga version. There's no music, but I'm led to believe that that is a feature that is going to be coming across to the Amiga. I think for me, Death Rally really just show what the capabilities are of the Amiga. Porting something from a PC, which is a game that you can still buy on Steam today, across to Amiga hardware blows my mind in 2023. This looks absolutely gorgeous. The 3D rendered models, it's that classic Micro Machines vibe, of course. I'm terrible at these kinds of games, but I can appreciate it's got a cult classic, cult following. So buckle up, guys, because Death Rally is available on your Amigas. Pretty cool. Super Metal Hero has been around on the Amiga scene since around 2020. This game still isn't out, but at the back of 2022, lots of new gameplay had come out with various new screenshots which boasted new backgrounds, new textures, and I think this gameplay looks really nice. There's a certain Mega Man vibe with this one. And I think that again, coming into 2023, this is going to be a really nice, smooth game to be able to pick up and play on your Amigas. I've read online that it's being optimised for the Amiga 1200, which makes sense given its kind of graphical fidelity. I think this one does look really gorgeous in terms of its frames per second. So Super Metal Hero is one again to keep an eye on. And there's very, very little information about recent updates. A lot of the updates you're getting in this episode come from the back end of last year. But I will link those sources in the description and maybe you can find additional information on Super Metal Hero. Now this one is relatively new to the Amiga scene. You play the role of Amy, and Amy gets a little bit too curious about what's in the Forbidden Forest and decides to go on this insane quest. This brings us to pretty much what we're seeing on screen right now. This game looks gorgeous with so many different colours, shades and textures on the screen. I really felt right at home with this one. Of course, it's my classic favourite of being top down, and I just think it looks stunning. Now, in terms of when we can expect this out, there's absolutely no release date whatsoever. This is very, very early days from Hamlet, and believe it or not, this is the developer's first, quote, serious Amiga game. So hats off to you really, mate. I'm going to put a link in the description to a thread on an Amiga board in which lots of people have tried this game, and the feedback so far is incredibly impressive. So I think that this one out of the entire list is definitely one to watch. It's that gorgeous top-down dungeon crawling, kind of killing enemies, unlocking doors. It really does feel nice, and it sounds pretty gorgeous too. So Hamlet and of course our protagonist Amy are both one to watch for the Amiga scenes for 2023. Cyberpunks 2 is probably the, I guess, most well-known franchise on this episode. Of course, it is a direct sequel to Cyberpunks by Mutation Software. Gameplay takes the form of a top-down style, and you have 3 players on your squad. 2 are AI and 1 are controlled by your capable self. And of course, doesn't really reinvent the wheel. You navigate the level, killing enemies, picking up different items, and just the first level, yes, Amiga Bill even features because you have to rescue Amiga Bill. I thought I recognised him from this screenshot. Cyberpunks 2 is available to buy now. Unfortunately, the big glossy box is out of stock, so I'm going to be buying the physical box, and I will leave a link in the description if you want to go and snag yourselves a copy. If you don't want a physical version, you can of course play the demo for free, or you can have the digital download to buy. You can also get the Amiga CD32 version. The digital download is available to buy, but unfortunately the physical version has sold out. That's a shame because I do think that this is my favourite game on this entire list. Let me know if you've played it. Let me know if you've played the first. I'm super hyped, and I'm seriously considering diving into a live stream on this over on Twitch. Please help me out. Shall we stream it or shall we leave it? Daan Zero is in development by Nivrig. And what drew me to this was its just absolute comparison of the classic Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. I love my top-down stuff, so that was enough for me to dive into some information about this game and actually realise that this packs a serious punch. To encapsulate what this game is, I'm going to quote from the developer's website, again linked in the description. The wizards have been at it again, and this time they've accidentally opened hell gates under the castle. Now it's up to you, brave Sir Daan, to search each procedurally generated castle dungeon and find enough magical shards to access and close its gate. Armed with a magical caster sword, potions you find, and perhaps the occasional legendary charm, Sir Daan must fight demons that escape from the gate, avoid traps, and collect treasures to trade for battle enhancements before finally facing the Hell Gates themselves. We are, of course, expecting this gorgeous game later on in the year, so keep an eye on the developer's Twitter as well, because I've seen that they're pretty active on there too. So check it out, guys. This is Rogue Daan Zero. Box 4 was delivered to the Amiga by Retro Guru. This looks absolutely gorgeous, and for me, I look at this and I say to myself, this reminds me very much of a certain Nintendo IP, but we're not going to dive into that. We're going to look at Box 4 for what it is. It is a cute and colourful platform game that I absolutely adore. Now, it might come as a surprise to know that there is a story within Box 4. And I'm going to read and quote from the developer in the description. Once upon a time in a distant land, there lived a little box-like creature named Cubo. Cubo was a happy-go-lucky creature who loved nothing more than exploring his world and finding new areas. One day, Cubo discovered that an evil robotic witch had slowly taken over his home area and was using her army of followers to torture the local inhabitants. Cubo knew he had to do something to save everyone and set out on a quest. So this is Cubo, navigating ladders, collecting coins, dodging enemies, and doing our damnedest to save the land that we love. This is gorgeous, it looks beautiful, and I'm happy to say that you can buy a physical release of this around Q3, Q4 of 2023. I will leave a link in the description so you can go and check this game out and keep an eye on a physical release. I think it sounds really nice as well. It really hones in on that gorgeous Amiga style 16-bit chiptune. Just sound, it's brilliant. So this is a definite purchase for me. Again, check them out in the description, guys. And we're going to be taking a look at the next game. I need a few seconds of your time to tell you about channel memberships. If you guys want to become a channel member, click join from the main page or the second link in the description. There are 3 tiers, all with different perks for you if you want to become a team member. Thanks for your time. Let's continue with the video. It absolutely blows my mind that the Amiga is still incredibly prominent on the retro gaming scene, even by today's standard. And even so, you know, a more popular, I guess, a console like the Dreamcast, even that, there's developers out there, and of course Wave Publishing Studio, that are bringing us brand new games for the Dreamcast. We've got new games on the Amiga. It's fantastic to see that there's home computers and consoles that are still churning out quality content for us all to really enjoy. Now, at times I've covered that many games for the Amiga on my playlist here that I've forgotten most of what I'm talking about, and Molly's downstairs barking, trying to remind me. But in this, Cyberpunks 2 and Roguecraft are my two favourite games. I think they all have many different strengths, audibly and visually, as we did listen into some of the audio within that episode. But for me, I'm just like super excited. I'm like, check it. I think I've got my notifications on for every time Rick tweets about Roguecraft, so I can keep an eye on that and finally enjoy it on release. So let me know, maybe it's in a previous video, but what Amiga games are you looking forward to in 2023? I think there's still many more out there that are laying uncovered, so perhaps you're a developer watching this and you want me to cover your game in a future episode. If that's the case, just drop me a DM on the Gebs24 Facebook page and we can have a little chat and I will cover your game. Hopefully, if it's amazing and it's just, I'll cover it anyway, but reach out to me. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Hope you leave a like and subscribe. Cheers.